name is His Royal Highness Livingstone Egba. I'm a member of Abain-ama in the Okoma Kingdom. The only well-planned, structured and organized government in Bayelsa State so far. The government of Chief Timothy Silva, because he came to government prepared, and they had a plan and then a strategy for implementing that plan. And from the moment he took office, we started working along the lines of the plans that were put in place. So across board, from infrastructure development, physical infrastructure development, I mean, you must have gone around, you must have spoken to so many people in terms of the roads, in terms of buildings, you talk about the electricity, all the street lights were working, so then you talk about water. There was water, there was reticulation service. All over Inagua, water was running. All that were in place. That's physical infrastructure. The human infrastructure development, he had a plan for the youths. I think Bayelsa was the only government at that time, the first and only government at that time that had a plan for training and skilling of youths. We had about 200 students that were trained. Yes, 200 students were trained on ICT skills in India. Being that we had already foreseen that about this time, you can think back between 2008, 9, 10 to date. About this time, ICT was going to rule the world.
Exactly.
The economy was going to be based on, commerce and e-commerce, and everything was going to be based on ICT. So he had prepared well ahead by training 200 candidates, took them from Bayelsa here to India to skill them across the spectrum of ICT. And we're even preparing to take some to Ireland. These were the leading nations. In Europe, Ireland was leading in ICT. In Asia, India was leading. And those are the places we're taking Bayelsa. So that is in terms of youth, capacity building. Then talk about scholarship, both offshore and local. Trained, fully paid up, and there were no issues. Security was very critical. Bayelsa, prior to then, was known as very notorious. Even I remember when former President Goodluck Jonathan was in government. Every week or two, there were strikes by militants, and then they had to take monies out into the creeks to go and settle them. When Silva came, he spearheaded the amnesty scheme, and you find that dramatically the issue of militants reduced. In fact, in Bayelsa, it was more or less non-existent. Other states were approaching Bayelsa to give them the template. But even in River State, Chief Timothy Silva was involved in negotiating and settling militancy issues for River State.
There have been talks amongst people that tend to downplay the effort or the role Silva played in bringing amnesty to the Niger Delta. How true is that? There are talks in some quarters that, there are some people who said he didn't do anything. It was the federal government that did. But now you somehow mentioned that he did. So can you tell us more about that?
In terms of the amnesty program, it will only be fair to give credit to who credit is due.
True.
Primarily, you will give the credit to President Yar'Adua. But you must also realize that before a president implements a program or takes action on any issue, he must have been well advised.
Exactly.
He must have been given, the background information and probably guided on the way to go about it. Chief Timothy Silva was primarily involved in both conceptualizing and then working on the implementation strategy. Sold it to Yar'Adua, who bought into it, and then, went with it. And that was why, if you go deep into amnesty, you will give the credit to Chief Timothy Silva, because he mooted the idea, perfected it, sold it to Yar'Adua. Yar'Adua bought into it, implemented it. And again, that's why I go back to what I said earlier. When there were issues in other states, in Delta, in River State, it was Chief Timothy Silva that was consulted both by the governors, even by the militants.
Wow.
Some militants were not even ready to surrender to their state government. Remember that it was Bayelsa State that first created the surrendering of arms, publicly at the Peace Square. It was not Peace Park, it was done. Then in River State, the militants were not even comfortable with the then state governor, Rotimi Amechi. They had to come into Bayelsa State to speak with the governor, get assurances from the governor. The governor then had to go to River State, speak with the River State governor, pacify him, calm him down, and then these people now came out. So Chief Timothy Silva was primarily involved and deeply again involved even in the implementation processes towards attainment of the amnesty program, which again, like I said, boosted the oil production levels, boosted general economic activities because there was security across board, and then again also enabled safety, and then of lives and property and peace across the Niger Delta and then Nigeria at large. He wants to do that to save lives.